Going off topic.
Off topic?
You really off topic right now. Yo, you way off topic. How is it that everybody's over here and you way over there off topic?
All right, family, welcome to another special edition. This is a very special edition of Going Off Topic with Brother Omowale. Today I have an amazing guest with me. I have Dr. Regina Jennings, Philadelphia native, one of the original members of the original Black Panther Party. I want to read your bio before we get started. So let me just take a second and do that really quick before I bring you on officially. So Dr. Regina Jennings has been teaching at universities for over 30 years. She has published 28 academic peer-reviewed journal articles and has written the following books: Midnight Morning Musings, Poems of an American African, Race, Rage, and Roses, Malcolm X and the Poetics of Hakeem Abudi, which won an International Book Award, Poetry and the Black Panther Party, From Ancestral Memory, Morphogenetic Fields to Hip Hop, and Panther Poems, Poetry of a Sister Panther. Currently, she's working on a manuscript entitled Killers and Cutthroats,
Yes.
Black Fighting Back and Self-Defense. Okay, Dr. Regina, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, my young brother, Omowale. Good to be here.
How are you today?
I am wonderful.
Okay, you look very vibrant. Yeah, I mean, you look really good. Like the energy is great. I know with all this madness happening in the world, is always good when our elders are looking good and feeling good.
Yeah, I feel like that too. And I attribute a lot of that to meditation. I meditate night and day because some people will understand what I'm about to say. Ogun has my head. So I'm always in a state of readiness and anger because I understand that my people here in America are war captives. You understand? Mm-hmm. So I've had to, over the years, develop a practice of meditation so that I could indeed steady my anger. Okay, because to be angry all the time, it can affect some of the organs in the body negatively.
Yeah. And,
you know, the universe, the creator has let me live for as long as I have. And so while I am on earth, Omowale, I really want to be vibrant, healthy. And then when it's time for me to go meet my ancestors in person, or I guess I should say in soul to soul,
yeah,
you know, that's cool. But while I'm here, I want to stay what you just called vibrant.
Ashe. All right. So I see you rocking your Black Panther Party shirt.
I got to stand up because I just want everybody to see that. These are my sweethearts. Bobby Seale, Huey Newton. All right. Okay. Those are the men that influenced my life when I was a teen to get on a plane and leave rotten, low-life Philadelphia. That's what I felt at the time. And go to Oakland, California and join my brothers in stopping the aggression that the police were putting on our people and black men specifically.
Ashe. So, I mean, this is going to be a very special treat to have a Black freedom fighter, to have one of our warrior queens live here in the flesh. I think that there is so much that we can discuss, right? So I definitely want to, get into a conversation about who is Dr. Regina Jennings. But before I do that, I just want to talk about the way you and I connected, because it was very, what's the word I'm looking for here? Serendipitous, right? The way that we connected. So you had sent me an email to my website. I don't know when you sent me the original email, but my administrator reached out to me at the end of December and was like, "Hey, have you been receiving any of your emails from your website?" And I'm like, "No, I haven't received any at all." So I don't know what was going on with the website. Well, he was like, "Hey, you got all these emails, so let me forward them over to you." And one of the emails that I received was from you, and you were explaining who you were, where you were from in Philly, your experience with the Black Panthers, and you said that you really, really wanted to meet me.
Yes, I did.
I guess I'll make a long story short. I'll give the short version. We tried to set something up, but I think that both of us weren't really feeling well at the beginning of the year. And then the date that we were able to connect, you shared with me a documentary that you had wanted me to watch. And the name of that documentary was 41st and Central. It told the story of the LA chapter of the Black Panther Party. You sent that to me on a Monday. We met on that Saturday where I had dinner at your home. And it just so happened that the day that you sent it to me was the anniversary of those brothers' assassination. So I just felt like it was so serendipitous, but I felt like it was also that exchange was meant to happen. So I appreciate you for that.
And I appreciate you. That's even why I reached out to you, because I think that one of the things that we have to do as elders, as seasoned women, as Black women who love Black men, we must educate the youth, because to me, I know you's a grown man. I know you got things going on, Dig, but to me, you're a youth. Mm-hmm. And it's important, I think, to hook up with young people, even just to tell my story and stories of other people like Bunchy Carter and John Huggins, who are the subjects of the video 41st and Central. And I had been looking on the internet to see what kind of Black leadership there was. And of course, we really don't have any mature Black leaders. Okay, it's disgusting. It's goddamn disgraceful. But I also was looking on the net, and I'm not on Facebook. I've gotten into trouble with Facebook. Anyway, so I'm on the net and I'm looking for young Black men in particular who exemplify the kind of leadership that our young people definitely need today, because it's quite a vacuum of leadership today. When I look at my youth growing up in the 60s, I'm so glad I grew up in the 60s, truly, because I saw the kind of brothers that I thought would be forever, and that's just not so.
Yeah.
So anyway, I ran across a program of yours, and it was, let me see, it was two of them. One, you talked about my alma mater, Temple University, which broke my heart, blew my mind, really made me go into deep meditation that evening that I saw you.
Yeah.
Because that's my alma mater. You dig? I have a special connection to Temple University. I got a baccalaureate in English in the English department there. I got a double master's in English and creative writing there. Then I got my PhD in African American studies. In fact, I was one of the I don't want to call myself a student leader, but I guess I was. Me and others that helped the former, I don't know if he's former, the chair at that time start a PhD program in African American studies. I was there for all of that. Yeah. I was there for all of that. Mm-hmm. And I can even remember, Omawale, when other professors said, oh, he'll never do it. It won't happen. I mean, what do we need a PhD in that? And I'm like, whatever, because I was still in school. I was trying to complete my master's degree. In fact, I was thinking about going to Howard University, although that would have been very difficult because I had children and I had an ailing husband at the time. And I was going to go to Howard because Howard had something. It wasn't a PhD in African American studies, but it was a Black something at that time that attracted me. Yeah. This was how much negativity that people were saying that Temple would never have a PhD program in African American studies. But actually, we had a good president at that time, Peter Leocoris, and Peter was he was Greek for one, and the Greeks and the Africans, they got that little thing going on. I'll talk about that a little later. But the point is, he was very much for it. So, to shorten this story, I have always always felt very, very close to Temple University, and in particular, the Department of African American Studies. So when I saw your program and you made some comments about the department, that shook me to the core. I just couldn't believe what I was hearing.
Yeah.
And to be perfectly honest with you, I actually thought that I would end my teaching career there. Yeah. I really did. That's how close I felt to the department, wanted to work with some of the scholars there. So I saw that and I was like, well, who is this Omowale guy? You know? And so I checked further because I didn't want you to be a dream. I said, now I wonder if that's just a one hit, you know, monumental show of his.
Yeah.
Then you interviewed Tommy Curry.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. I'm so in love with Tommy Curry. I mean, I had written him, but he was on his way to England by that time.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, because his book, what is it called? Black Men Not.
Yeah.
That's the name of it. That book is absolutely excellent. And oh my God, Black male studies is something that I always wanted to teach and tried to teach it at different universities that I was at. But I was very conscious of the fact that I am a Black woman. Yeah. I really wanted Black men to teach Black men studies. But since I didn't see any Black men teaching Black male studies, I wanted to teach it myself.
Yeah.
Okay. Especially when I saw what was happening with a lot of young Black men who would come into my office and just confess certain kinds of inadequacies that I knew were prevalent among many other young Black men. So when I saw that you were smart enough, brave enough, interested enough to interview an excellent brother like that, that's when I said, well, you know what? And then you had said that you were in Philly somewhere. And I was like, wait, he's in Philly and I'm in Philly. That's when I reached out to you.
Yeah, yeah. Listen, hold on. Probably going to be giving a lot of applause this evening because this is a really special interview. You know, I felt really fortunate to have the opportunity to sit at your table, to dine with you, to learn your history. And the timing was just interesting because I had interviewed a sister and we were having a conversation during that interview about the role of Black women within revolution. And she was kind of taken aback by the idea that Black women can and should be warriors, right, in our struggle for liberation. I think that she was pretty kind of pissed off about me saying that. But I remember when I got your email and I went and researched you to figure out, well, who was Dr. Regina Jennings? And the first thing that popped up was it was a video from 2010. It was called Honoring the Warrior Principle, Picking Up Harriet's Shotgun.
Yeah.
And you were on stage with Sister Basima from the UNIA.
Yeah.
And Africa. There were some other young sisters who were honoring you all. And there was another elder who was there as well. But when I heard you speak, I'm like, that's that warrior Black freedom fighter energy that I'm talking about. So let's spend some time there for a second. Who is Dr. Regina Jennings and what brought you into the movement?
Okay. I didn't realize it at the time, but I had a very traumatic childhood, if you will. And I was brought up by my mother, my aunt, my grandmother. I had sisters and all like that. But the situation at my home was so very chaotic that I decided to leave home at 14. So at 14, I really didn't know much, of course. And everything that could possibly happen to a young, naive girl on the streets happened to me.
Yeah.
So I want everybody to hear this, to just think of everything that could have possibly happened to me, because it did. And I want you to know that whatever terrible things that are conjuring up in your mind right now, I want you to think about them because they happened to me more than once.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so while I was on the street, I knew that I couldn't just let these terrible circumstances that I had put myself in keep happening. So I used my head, I figured out I was still young, 15 by now, 15 or 16, thought I knew everything, but I knew that I had to stop the trajectory that I was on. That was, and I just had to stop that because I was being used and abused in every possible way a young girl can be. So I decided, okay, I knew the gangsters and criminals and all that kind of stuff out in the world here in Philly. And so I figured out which ones I could rock with. And also I was going back and forth to school whenever I wanted to, because I hated school, but it was something about school that I did like. I'm not sure what it was. But I would keep going back and forth to school. I'd go home when I got good and ready. Normally when I got ill, I would go home, and there were some times that I really did get ill because of course I was on drugs. I mean, how you going to be on the street and not be high? One must be high, so around 16, 17, I knew that what I was doing was just totally against what my grandmother had taught me, my mother, my aunt, and plus my mother was looking for me and I was feeling sorry for her. But I knew I wasn't going back. I mean, I had a taste of the streets. To be young, you're adventurous. I hated it, but I loved it. I just couldn't get away from it. But what I did do, thank goodness, I cleaned myself up and I hiked up my age and I tried to get a job. I was always knew how to type. So I applied for a job. Thank goodness. And I don't know any of what I'm saying here at the time, but thank goodness the job that I was attracted to, one of the jobs I applied for, was with an all-Black agency, the Philadelphia Urban League. God is good. Well, I applied for the job and I got it. And I was just so happy because I had a legit job. I wasn't doing, outlaw things to make money, Now, I still had pretty much a drug habit. I would get high every day. I mean, you get out of bed, you get high. I mean, how can you face the day without a joint? It just didn't make any sense to even try. So one of the men that I worked for was a pastor or a reverend. His name is Reverend Lawrence Henry. And I'll never forget that he called me into his office one day. I went. He said, Regina, he said, let me tell you something. I fought to get you this job because nobody else wanted you to have it. I said, okay. He said, and I know you're high. You're high now, aren't you? I lied. No, I'm not high. High as eyes blooded and red. My breath probably smelled like the joint that I had before I got to work. So he said, look, I don't know what has happened to you, but this is what I want you to do. I want you to read this book. I said, okay. The book was the autobiography of Malcolm X. So I went back to my, I lived with a lot of other young outlaws. We lived in should have been abandoned buildings. It was terrible. Yeah. But, we had each other. So anyway, I remember I got some Chinese food and I said, I told my compadres, look, I'm not getting high tonight. Look, I'm going to read this book. My boss said, they were like, read a book. I said, I know, but I'm reading it. God damn it. It's about Malcolm X. Okay.
Yeah.
And I did know a little teeny bit about Malcolm, not a lot, but I knew he was somebody Black. Now, I start reading it and reading it and reading it and reading it. And I was like, oh my God. I mean, it started me on the path towards Blackness.
Yeah.
So I go to work the next day. I really tried not to get high. I really did, but I did. But in any event, I tried not to, Omawali. That was the most important thing But I was like, look, no, I can't face the day without some joint and then some speed. Come on now.
Yeah.
So anyway, but I took the book with me to work, and I would just read it, whenever I could, after I did my typing and such. And there was another sister there. Her name was Leah Gaskins. I hope she's still alive, because Lawrence Henry is gone. She came up to me one day and she said, I'd like you to see a film. I said, okay. She said, well, can you come to the church, some church here in Philly? I don't remember tonight. I said, yeah, sure. Now, I looked at Leah. I thought she was out of her mind. Leah had an afro. Mm-hmm. I was like, that girl is nuts. I don't know why she won't straighten her hair. I don't know why she let white people see that our hair is like it is,
Yeah.
But I liked her. But I couldn't understand what? Because my hair was straightened back, dyed different colors. And hey. So anyway, I did go to the church with her. It was me and a couple of other young ladies. And she showed a film. My brothers, Bobby and Huey.
Yeah.
I sat there and I was like, what? I mean, and they had their guns and they were following the police, and Huey was spouting law, and I couldn't believe it, because also being on the streets, I had seen the cops do some stuff that I was like, these people are demonic.
Yeah.
And even before my time on the streets, my grandmother ran a speakeasy. A speakeasy is, you sell liquor to neighborhood people and friends, In any event, she paid off the cops. Now, this is when I was a little girl. She had paid off the cops, but whenever they wanted to have some fun, they'd come to Miss Grace's house, knock the door in, and run upstairs and open up my mother's drawers and my aunt's drawers and just throw their nighties and personal items all. I hated the goddamn police. I mean, I hated them and I feared them. Yeah. My grandmother also was a numbers runner here in Philly, so they were always looking for her numbers book. That was the pretense. But like I said, my grandmother was a businesswoman. She had paid off the cops. And dig this. I love telling this story, too, about my grandmother, Grace. My grandmother ran a speakeasy, but was also a cleaning woman. She cleaned for Curtis Publishing Company downtown that no longer exists now. And would come home and probably, change her clothes and be a hostess and a businesswoman in the evening. Love that. So, okay, so I see Huey and Bobby standing up to the police. And this is also the time period when Martin Luther King was doing his marches, and the police were just beating them, and dogs was biting them. And I'm like, oh, Lord. But then I saw these brothers standing up to the police. Well, I didn't have anything to hold me here in Philly. Plus, I had known a couple of people that went out to California. So I decided, I said, well, I don't think I need to stay in Philly. I'm going to Oakland and find these brothers. And that's pretty much what I did.
What year was this? Was it 66, 67?
This was 67.
Okay. Wow. So what was it like in those early years? Because Huey got arrested in what, 68, 67? When
Huey had gotten arrested just about right at, Diggs, I forgot this part. I had been to California before because I'd had a boyfriend out in California. I had went out to California a year before, 66, and I spent a couple weeks out there. Almost lost my job because I didn't want to come back to Philly, anyway. Yeah. But and I had gone to the Panthers were giving something, and you know what, Wally, it's so deep. The people I was hanging with, young people I was hanging with, I couldn't even explain to them that I wanted to see the Panthers. That was so foreign. I didn't even know, but I'm in California. And so I say, well, isn't there an event going on at probably some church or something? And I went, and there was Huey. Oh my God. And there was Bobby, and there were these sisters. This is what really got me. They had on all black. They were so lovely. And they had their hair natural. I was still permanent and everything then. So I was like, look at this. I knew I wanted to be a part of it, but I didn't quite know how to make that commitment then.
Yeah.
However, when I went back to California that second time, I knew I wanted to be a Panther.
Yeah.
First of all, Malcolm X, his autobiography, taught me to love Black people. It put into context, even though, X wasn't talking to me, but somehow the book talked to me.
Yeah.
I understood the problems within my home life. I understood that. I even understood me being on the street like I was. I understood my partners in so-called crime, why we did what we did. I really understood why I needed to get high.
Yeah.
Okay. Because when you get high, well, everything is marvelous. I mean, you don't have to face the trauma, the hurt, the powerlessness that one feels as a person of African descent in racist America.
Yeah.
Let me see. What was the question now? Because I'm getting lost in my own narrative.
What was it like in those early days?
Oh my God. Well, for one, because of my mindset, now I did go out to Oakland with my drug habit. Drug habit. I mean, I did. Mm-hmm. Just to be perfectly candid. And when I hit California the second time, I was like, look, I got to find a dope house. I got to, I wanted to see the pimps and the prostitutes and the because the pimps were so beautiful. I mean, they were just, this was my life.
Yeah.
So, before I actually joined the Panthers, I just experimented in San Francisco, met a couple of wild sisters as wild as I was, and went to, different kind of parties and stuff like that. And I got a job. I always knew how to get a job, Okay. And I had decided, okay, I wasn't going to straighten my hair anymore, but I was too scared to wear a natural.
Yeah.
So I pinned my hair up and I had a hair piece. And this is important because this is how I got the gig. When I got my gig in San Francisco, I type this again. I got the gig. When I went back and I took off that hairpiece, and they were like, who what? No, what? It was because I was the only Black person in the entire secretarial pool. So what I would do after I got off work, I'd go to the Panther office in Oakland, and I would just peep in the door. I'm not sure what I was looking for. Then I got scared. I just would leave. I did this for a good month and a half or more. Then I said, Regina, you got to go into the Panther. Or how you going to join if you just keep peeping? So I walked into the Panther office, had on a business suit, and I told first of all, at the desk, Omawale was the meanest, biggest looking brother I'd ever seen in life. That brother looked like I can eat a tree. Yeah. What do you want, woman? Yeah, or sister. So I walk out, I said, God, look at. So I said, well, how you doing? And he just looked at me, like. So I said, my name's Regina, and I want to join the Black Panther Party. Why? Okay. Well, I want to kill white people, and I figured this was the place for me to be. So it was Panthers all around, and they just looked up at me and kept on doing what they were doing, sorting papers and all this kind of stuff. So he says, all right, fill out this form. and you know, we'll let you know. So I wrote down, all my information and everything, phone number, where I worked and all. Now, oh, Wale, I love what I'm about to tell you next. I had no idea this was going on. The captain took my stuff down. He got with some other Panthers, and he said, I want y'all to check her out, follow her. I had no idea, none.
Yeah.
So I go to work the next day. Everything's cool. I'm happy. I at least had, filled out the form. And, after work, I went, where did I go? I think I might have went either to the dope house or to one of my crazy girlfriend's house or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So this goes on for about 4 days. And I found this out later. Like two Panther brothers showed up at my house. And, but before that time, they had reported back to the captain, nah, she ain't FBI. That fool is too crazy to be FBI, you know?
Yeah.
So, okay. So then the brothers, they came to my apartment and they talked to me about being in the party. And I got scared. I didn't want to join right away, but I did. In fact, one of my girlfriends, her name was Ethel. I don't think she'll mind me talking about her, Ethel Paris. She had come out to California too, because I had told her and another sister, y'all got to see these brothers out here. I mean, this is it. And she actually joined before I did, and then I went on and joined the Black Panther Party for self-defense.
All right. So what year was this when you joined?
67.
67.
So 68,
how long were you in the party before I guess it was disbanded? Or
I'm still in the Black Panther Party for self-defense.
Got you. Hold on 1 second. I gotta give that to
you.
So
yes.
I know. Well, first of all, I know that you still have a great relationship with Bobby Seale. He wrote the introduction to your latest book. I don't know if you want to pull it up on the screen right here. So not the introduction, the forward. He wrote the forward to your latest book. So I know that y'all two still have a great relationship. But so let's talk about, I guess, that tumultuous period after Huey comes home. They speak about this in the documentary on 41st and Central, I believe. Not Kathleen Cleaver. What's the other sister's name? She wrote
Erica Huggins.
No, the one who wrote A Taste for Power.
Elaine Brown.
Elaine Brown. So she talks about kind of like the difference in the party after Huey comes home. So during this period of time, I presume you're still with the Oakland chapter of the party.
Yes.
So what's happening at this time? Because this is during the period of COINTELPRO, but also during the rise of Black feminism as well.
Yes. Now, first of all, I want to talk about when Huey was in jail. That's very important because we did what would have been considered the impossible. Huey was in jail for shooting one policeman and wounding another.
Mm-hmm.
Huey was supposed to get the gas chamber. Prior to Huey, any person, in particular Black person, that shot a policeman, they went to jail for life or were executed. It was imperative that we get Huey out of jail.
Yeah.
That was not an overnight thing. That was one of the feats, if you will, FEATS, of the Black Panther Party. All of our efforts, the Rage, that's Eldridge Cleaver, Kathleen Cleaver, his beautiful wife, I worked for her, Bobby Seale. And check this out. Bobby Seale was in jail himself, okay, for the charges that stem from when him and the Mosley brothers and a few sisters went to Sacramento armed openly because it was legal to challenge the Mulford Act.
Yeah.
The Mulford Act came up because the whites wanted to stop the Panthers from carrying guns.
Yes.
So I think probably your audience knows or saw pictures of those beautiful brothers. And there were some sisters there too, some beautiful brothers though, that went to Sacramento. That was the state capital.
Yep.
To protest that bill. So Bobby was in jail for that. When Huey was taken to jail and Huey was shot.
Yeah.
You know. So while Bobby was in jail, because he knew that we could certainly get him out way before we could get Huey out, because Huey, you know, he was on jail for murder. Bobby wrote Seize the Time while he was in jail. And Seize the Time, that book, highly recommended. I write about it in this book. In any event, he wrote that book to get Huey out of jail. That was the Panthers' focus, because we knew that we had to get the Black community to understand the significance of standing up against racist police. And we wanted to show that we had a legal team behind us, which we did. And we were going to challenge the racist laws in this country that were incarcerating so many Black men and Black women, but mostly Black men.
Yeah.
So freeing Huey was tantamount. And what people don't even know that, and I didn't even know it at the time. I'm a scholar on the Panthers too now. So, you know, but at the time, man, we had a division of brothers, and I do mean brothers. They were looking to break Huey out of jail.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, like, break him out of jail.
Yeah.
So all of this is going on because we really thought that Huey could be killed and, you know, executed, gas chamber. We weren't going to let that happen. Not with what that brother did for us.
Yeah.
So that's when the Panthers mounted a national, international campaign to free Huey. I mean, we sang songs. Black is beautiful. Free Huey. Set our warriors free. Free Huey. Black is beautiful. Huey must be free. Free Huey. You know, so, I mean, it would just be choruses, and we'd sing this all throughout the day, all throughout the night. We sang it on Oakland streets. We got Black lawyers to help us. But what would happen with the Black lawyers? It was so terrible, so terrible.
Yeah.
The Black lawyers, if they helped us, they'd lose their license. They wouldn't be able to take care of their families. So this is when Panthers went to white lawyers who, they were white, doggone it. So they didn't have the kind of powerlessness that some of the Black lawyers did.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So this is why Huey's legal team ended up being, well, actually, Charles Gary, I think he was Armenian, but nevertheless, we were in the Black Power movement, but we had to have white lawyers.
Yeah.
We took whatever we could get because the purpose was to free Huey.
Yeah.
Now, and guess what, y'all? And I want people to understand this, particularly the young. We freed him. Very often, young people look at, well, they shot King. They killed Malcolm. And that is the truth. But know that we freed Huey against every legal apparatus in this country. We did it. That's a success. And I just want people to know and take into their psychology. There are many Black successes, and that's what we have to concentrate on. Yeah. We did free Huey, doggone it. And while Huey was in jail, he organized prisoners to stop working for slave labor, like what, a penny a day or for free.
Yeah.
Huey did that.
Yeah.
He was a Panther while he was in jail.
Shout out to Field Marshal George Jackson.
Same.
Mm-hmm.
Same.
You know, it's interesting. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, because I was going to say Dr. Errol Henderson wrote a book 2 years ago called The Revolution Will Not Be Theorized. And I heard him on an interview, and one of his arguments was the frustration that we don't pay enough attention to our successes.
Very good.
When we look at our struggle historically, there have been many successes. And
That's right.
Our enemy's job is to make us believe that we've had victories, right?
There you go.
We don't think that we've had any victories, and there's nothing for us to study. There's nothing for us to learn. So I appreciate the fact that you.
And I want to get the name of that book. Maybe you can email it to me later.
I got you.
I definitely want to see that, because that's where I'm coming from now. That's why I'm gonna answer the question that you actually asked about those latter days when Huey got out. But I had to show that because people might not understand, first of all, how long it took and how much effort. Every day that we got up, we had to free Huey.
Yeah.
Every day, we galvanized around that.
Yeah.
Freeing Huey. And Bunchy was alive then. John Huggins was alive then. The brothers in 41st and Central. Yep. I mean, everybody, the gang bangers, the drug dealers, everybody. Look, we talked to everybody. Look, don't you want to free Huey? We talked to the prostitutes. Don't you want to free Huey? Whatever you needed to do to free Huey, we wanted you to do it.
Yeah.
So that campaign, and that was run brilliantly by Kathleen Cleaver, who was the communications secretary of the Black Panther Party. And at that time, I used to type up her speeches. I thought she was just magnificent. Because remember, at that time, I was a teen, I didn't know how to talk. I mean, I can talk now, do this interview. And I've been teaching, like you said earlier, for 30 years. But back then, I couldn't talk. And when I would hear Kathleen speak to the press and speak to us, I was just enamored. Oh, my God. And her bush, she was just fantastic to me. All of us, we used to try to imitate Kathleen, talk like Kathleen, dress like Kathleen. I mean, Kathleen would do rallies sometimes, and she'd wear all black and a black mini skirt and have her rifle. I said, now you, please, what else is there? Isn't this a role model? Yes.
That is a role model. When we talk about the warrior principle, the female warrior principle, you cannot engage in struggle with just one half of the equation.
That's right.
The U.S. intelligence apparatus understood that after dealing with Vietnam. They were very clear, like, oh, no, this is a problem. You can't have men and women fighting together. You have to create dissension in the ranks and split it along gender lines, a la the Feminist Party, which gets introduced in 1970 in the 70s, right? And I recall there was a documentary, I don't know who put it out, but both Kathleen Cleaver and Elaine Brown are on the documentary, and they were saying that they were suspicious of anyone who was seeking to split the party or split the movement along gender lines. So can you talk about that during this day, like the pressure to embrace feminism that was being imposed onto Black women, like during the early days?
Indeed. And see, what we did, first of all, we loved our brothers. I mean, the sisters in the party, we didn't even, and even to this day, I don't really, people have said, you're a feminist. No, I'm not. If I'm anything, I'm a womanist. I'm not, first of all, feminism comes out of a white woman's mind. I do not want to imitate anything that white women put forward.
Yeah.
Now, I don't really dislike all white women. It's not about that. But it is about, first of all, I'm a Black nationalist. So if it's going to be any kind of movement for women, it's got to be rooted in Black nationalism.
Yep.
You see? So I'm not into, white feminism, not at all. Now, some of my sisters are fine. I'm not. And in the party, we didn't even think, honestly, along gender lines. And let me give you a real good example. When we created the breakfast program, which, good Lord, I don't know how my captain and them captains did it. I don't know how Fred Hampton did it in Chicago. I don't know. And I mean that. All I know is this. In Oakland, my captain took me and some others, and he said, look, all I need y'all to do is look mean and ugly when we go into this store. Well, I could definitely look mean and ugly because that's how I felt every day anyway. So we all walked into the grocery store and we acted like we were packing, even though we weren't, because the laws had changed by this time. My captain goes up to the manager and he says, we're from the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense. And, you have this grocery store here and you making whatever he was making, I forgot, per week. And this is a black neighborhood. Now, we starting a Breakfast for School Children program. So we would like you to donate food to the Black Panther Party on a weekly basis. Are you down with that? So normally the manager, white, would say, okay, yeah. He says, fine, we'll come, we'll pick up the food, on a Friday or whatever. Now, once we got, by the way, the breakfast program was the brainchild of Bobby Seale. That was Bobby Seale's brainchild. Anyway, once we got to the church to prepare the food for the children, the brothers had to cook. It wasn't like, okay, sisters, set the table. No, everything was split down the middle. Well, Regina, didn't you cook on Tuesday? Well, yeah, well, then it's Victor's turn to cook it. Really? So the men would cook the sausage, the eggs, the grits, the toast, and we might go out there and do a little dance for the kids or say, Free Huey or Black is Beautiful, whatever, But it was, and cleaning up afterwards, because we had to clean up afterwards, that would be split. Well, didn't you mop the floor yesterday? No, I didn't mop it yet. Well, you're going to have to mop it today. So it was, we honestly did not even think, well, that's a woman's thing or that's a man's thing. Okay. Now, let me not. We did, date and all, so we knew what was what intimately. Yeah. But as far as tasks were concerned, men and women pretty much, we did the same kind of things. When we went to target practice, which I adored, I loved it. The sisters would be up there, shooting. Then the brother would come shoot. I mean, it was pretty equal. Yeah. So we didn't, and see, even from days of our enslavement, our bondage, Black women always had to take on all kinds of jobs.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm writing in my latest book now. I'm doing, I'm writing a poem for all of the freedom fighters that literally shot back and often killed whites. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's important, that image. And I'm not a violent person, but this is what I've noticed. Black people tend to first of all, they see the civil rights movement as a kind of bit of a cowardice kind of a thing. Yeah. And it makes blacks look unmasculine. I'll put it like that. So what I wanted to show is that Black men and women have been fighting against the tyranny of colonialism and white supremacy since we got here.
Ashe.
So, like I'm working on a poem now. It's an ode to Nat Turner. And I'm really working on it a lot because I want to give him his due. And so I show in the poem, I place him in the woods. He's sitting on a log and he's contemplating, what is a Negro? Little N. What is a Negro? Is it a zero? Is it a potato? Is it cargo? White people, what do they now do it poetically? I'm talking it out now. But what I wanted to show, first of all, Nat Turner had a family. When people think about Nat Turner, they don't think about, well, he had a wife that he loved. And guess what her name was?
What's her name?
Cherry. Her goddamn name was Cherry. Lord have mercy. Nat Turner had a son and a daughter. And his master sold his family away from him. Nat Turner, as an itinerant preacher with his master, was able to go to the different plantations. You see? He saw white men rape black men's wives, not just the black woman. If a white man wanted your wife, Omawale, he could take her. And what could you do? Dig. Now, so what did the black woman do? Very often, because I've read the slave narratives, black women would do everything they could to try to hide the rape of the white man. Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. Okay? So I give some of the truthful atrocities in this ode to Nat Turner poem that white people have inflicted upon us.
Yeah.
Because we overlook these things, and they are painful. But I put them front and center. Because if you're married to an enslaved woman and she's being raped whenever she has to go to the big house, when she has that baby and here you are beautifully black and so is she, and that baby come out looking like snow, what in the world do you think that did to the black man and to the black woman? In fact, one of the lines in the poem that I like very much, I say something to the effect of, the black woman tried to hide her guilty vagina from her black husband. So in this book, and man, I found in my research a queen, a 19th century African queen called Sarah Unya. Do you know she was the Panther Queen?
Mm.
Her whole town was in the shape of a panther. The houses were in the shape of a panther. She had panther emblems or statues as guards for her house. So I did a long poem on her because what am I getting at here? Because I also wrote about her in this book. I believe that every thought and this isn't a belief, this is science. This is in the morphogenetic field, quantum physics. All of our thoughts don't just disappear. They're energy. Therefore, it is not improbable that Queen Sarah Unya, the Panther Queen, didn't somehow impress herself upon the minds of Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seale when they were putting together the Black Panther Party for self-defense. Now, I know most books say they got that Panther emblem or icon or image.
Louds County.
Dig, yeah. And I'm not going to say that's not true. That's consciously.
Mm-hmm.
But I also say the unconscious, previous Panther warrior imagery was in the atmosphere, free for anybody. So that's how I actually shape it in my literary criticism on Panther poetry, but also to give Queen Sarah Unya her due, to introduce her to Black people of today, to know that this warrior queen, and check, Omawale, check this out. Girlfriend had a husband. Now she was a queen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And her husband wasn't a king. Mm-hmm. It was a matriarchal, village. Yeah. Okay. So girlfriend was the queen, but she also had a husband. Okay. And sometimes it would get to him, because she still was the queen.
Yeah.
But at night, she was his wife. You know what that means. Now, so they had a few problems with that. But when it came time to go to war, because the rotten, dirty, vicious, satanic, demonic, devilish French, the French were going all across Africa, killing Africans and those they didn't kill. Because remember, they had cannons and guns. We didn't.
Yeah,
we had spears and bow and arrows.
I know.
So those they couldn't kill, they would make into servants. So Sarah Unya knew that they were coming. So she prepared her Asna people for war. And this was during the time when her husband had said, look, you queen, I'm sorry. You look, I'm just, I'm leaving. Well, her husband came back. He said, all right, baby, all right, we going to do this together. I want our people to read these kind of things. Now, I'm talking it out, but I'm putting it in poetry, you know?
So talk about, because you talked about imprints and energy. I know that one of the greatest imprints on the Panther generation was Malcolm X.
Oh, yes.
I know that you are a Malcolm X scholar as well. So can you talk about Malcolm's influence? Okay, Malcolm X and the Poetics of Hakeem Abudi.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So Malcolm's imprint that was on the movement.
Yes, and it was on all of the movement. Certainly not just the Black Panther Party for self-defense. The Muslims and the CIA, FBI did a terrible, terrible thing to kill that man. Mm-hmm. That was just terrible. Now, having said that, let me get to some of the specifics. Malcolm was the first person that I read about and later listened to, especially when I got to California. I heard his speeches. To say, who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Now, it affects a man too, but it really affects women. Our hair means a great deal to us.
Yeah.
Men will even select us by our hair. I mean, you know, man, you're a man, you know, you like to touch it and all that. Anyway, point being, when Malcolm said that, I mean, that alone was enough to just make any Black woman just stop. What am I doing? What am I? Let me tell you, you might not know about this. Let me tell you about a perm. When you put a perm is live for the most part. If you leave that mess in your hair too long, you might not have no hair, or you may burn your scalp. What are you doing? Why are you going through this? Who are you trying to look like? When he talked about who told you to hate the color of your skin, well, hell, darker sisters in this country have a terrible time. All right. There is colorism. There always has been, especially since our bondage by white people. Mm-hmm. They always separated us according to color. You know, when you Black, get back. If you brown, stick around. If you white, you all right.
If you yellow.
I mean, I grew up with that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it was Malcolm's clear thinking and brave speaking that made all of us look at what are we doing. Malcolm also is the first intellectual scholar, I believe, maybe it was others, that even moved us from being Negro to African American. Mm-hmm. He said the term in one of his speeches, African American. That's a big, big leap, because white people, first of all, they took all of these various African ethnic groups, put us together, enslaved us, bound us, and then called us Negro with a little N. They didn't even capitalize, little teeny N. See, Garvey, Marcus Garvey, that is, who taught the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, mm-hmm. who certainly taught Malcolm, but Malcolm's father had also been a Garveyite, and mm-hmm. his mama. But in any event, one of Garvey's major issues was to make the media stop writing Negro with a little N and to capitalize the N in Negro. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
That was a movement, people, a movement that took time and energy and arguing and negotiating and just back and forth with the media and the publishers of books.
That Garvey right here.
Very good. Right. Very good. I got him on my wall back there. Mm-hmm. So it was a big thing. It was a big, because that's our race name.
Mm-hmm.
And if our race name is little, the little n, then that's another way of showing that we're little people. We have no power.
Yep.
You know, we're tiny, you know. So for Garvey to argue and win that Negroes should be capitalized, and then for Malcolm to come along and not only, well, he always said so-called Negro, you know, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that, the so-called Negro, because we weren't Negroes at all.
Yeah.
It was Malcolm, even more than Elijah, that hooked us up with Africa.
Yeah.
You see, when Malcolm would come out in the dashiki, well, that's all she wrote.
Yeah.
Malcolm traveled all throughout Africa,
Mm-hmm.
trying to make liaisons with African heads of state, trying to get them to embrace the Negro problem and discuss it before the United Nations.
Yeah, well,
that was Malcolm, who worked tirelessly. And let me tell you something else that you did. And I think the first video that I saw of you, Omowale, that I really appreciated. You pointed out that in the Netflix documentary, I think it's called Who Killed Malcolm?
Mm-hmm.
That, and it's a good documentary. But in any event, in the very last scene where the brother, I'm forgetting his name, so I'm not going to say.
I can't think of his name either, but
okay, I can't. I might be Abdul, but I'm not sure. But anyway, he's with his son, and you know you can see it's about to go off. He takes his son to a book rack.
Mm-hmm.
He picks up Manny Marable's book, which I despise.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I do. And showed that to his son. This is why, one of the reasons why I write like I do, and as much as I do, and I encourage everybody to write. I really do, especially if you have something to say that's counter to this culture.
Yeah.
That's very significant because Manny Marable's book won a Pulitzer.
Mm-hmm.
And I and about 50 other writers, we wrote 2 books. One is, I think, Jared Ball.
A Lie of Reinvention.
Which is great. That takes on the reinventions in Manny Marable's text. And I'm with, let's see, I forgot, what was it called? By Any Means, Not By Any Means Necessary. And that was edited by Herb Boyd and Hakeem Adabuti. I'm in there. And that's important to do. And let me give you and your listeners a fact that they might not know. Back in 1970, I think it was 70 or 71, William Styron, a white writer.
They know if they listen to me.
Oh, they know? Okay.
And I put them on John Henry Clark and, you know, getting the writers together to push back against that Nat Turner.
And wait, his trash.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you what he did to Nat.
Mm-hmm. Made Nat into a homosexual.
He made Nat into a homosexual who lusted after a white woman.
Mm-hmm.
That garbage won a Pulitzer.
Mm-hmm.
So the writers of that era pushed back, and they pushed back beautifully. Now, Manny Marable.
Just really quick, I have an
Go
episode.
ahead.
I think I may have unlisted it because I've been getting certain people reaching out to me. So I've been trying to, you know, wear the mask a little bit. But I have an episode called "The Homophile Assault on African Manhood."
Okay.
And that in that episode, I deal with all of that. I present all that information.
Good. That's good. Say it again because I want people to hear it again. Really?
A homophile assault on African manhood. I deal with all that in that particular episode. Yep.
Very good. Because that same push was pushed on Malcolm recently.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now scholars going to say that he was a homosexual. Is that how Malcolm wanted to be remembered?
Mm-hmm.
Malcolm is not James Baldwin. By the way, James Baldwin was the one that gave William Styron the idea.
Yep.
Well, let's make Nat Turner human. Let's make him homosexual.
Yep.
Well, in my poetry on Nat Turner, I'm making him human and showing you his wife and giving you his wife's name. That's how you make human. So anyway, there has been a push to just as in life, to weaken the image of Malcolm X.
Mm-hmm.
That's very important, because if young black men really look at who Malcolm was and what he stood for, it would create more Malcolms, which this country does not want to do. Now,
Mm-hmm.
Les Payne wrote a brilliant tome, a book. It's massive, but it's worth reading. It's called The Dead Are Arising.
Mm.
It is glorious. He did 30 years worth of research on Malcolm X, and he brings forward so many facts that were left out. Well, they couldn't be put in the autobiography. You just can't put everything in there, but he gives you fresh new information on Malcolm in this book. It's called The Dead Are Arising, and it too won a Pulitzer. In fact, I was scared to get it. I really was, because I said, Lord, if it won a Pulitzer, is it all right?
Yeah,
But it
yeah.
is.
That's the same
It
way
is.
I feel about what's that award that they give to people for outstanding service to white supremacy? Nobel Peace Prize. If they stamp you with that, I already know you ain't no friend of ours. So
Right. We gotta stay suspicious like that, because you see, this country is inundating our youngsters and our oldsters as well with a lot of stupid information, misinformation, and outright lies.
mm-hmm.
You know, and I don't want to go too far off topic, but I do want to share
Well,
this.
so just so you know, the name of this segment is going off topic. So please do, by all means. I'm actually
By all means, go off topic.
I'm looking for a quote over here that I want to share, but by all means, the floor is yours. Please do.
Okay. Right now, all over the news. Now, I really don't look at the news. I look at parts of the news because I know the media lies.
Mm-hmm.
They lie. They are drumming up this country for war with Russia. Now, you tell me, what does the United States have to do with the Ukraine? Just like, what did the United States have to do with Vietnam? What has the Ukraine, or Russia for that matter, what have they done to the United States?
Mm-hmm.
That the United States would send 8,000 or so American men and women of all nationalities to Russia? Are you kidding me? Now, the United States just got out of the longest war in history in Afghanistan. And look how the United States got out, leaving what, billions of dollars worth of war equipment
Mm-hmm.
in Afghanistan, which is nuts, but that's what they did. Now, they just got out of a war. Billions and billions of tax dollars. I've been working all my life. Our tax dollars go to wars. And now you just got out of one war. Now you want to start another one with Vladimir Putin.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to make Putin's being aggressive. Hey, Putin's Europe. Russia's Europe. The Ukrainian people, half the population are Russian. That's between them. That's a civil war, John.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I wanted to say that because I did see these warmongers. Yeah, we ought to go right in for what? Go right in for what? What are we doing on the border, on Russia's borders, when the United States borders are wide open and people are coming in? Now, we supposed to wear masks, and all of these new people are coming in, and please. So I just want people to understand that America has been a warmongering country since its inception.
Oh, sure.
Remember this too. This land, we come from Africa. This land was populated by red nations. Some say about 500 of them, millions of them.
Mm-hmm.
Where they at now? Yeah, you know now. So you see, war is something that white people just continuously move towards, because war makes money for the real elite, the oligarchs that run this country. These are the descendants of the same people that wiped out the red nations, took their children, reschooled them to hate their own culture and their features, killed many of them, separated them from families, built ships, sailed over the oceans to Africa to grab you, bring you back here and work you and your family for 3 centuries or more for free. For free. Do you know what it means to have workers to work for you for free? Yeah, you could build scientific wonders. Yeah, you could be genius. Hell, you don't have to go to work. Just think about that. And that was generations of whites who, in fact, would hand down their slaves to future generations. One of them died. Well, Polly gets Oma Wale, or Wally, probably not Oma at that time. And Susan gets Regina. And hey, I read their diaries. They would keep their slaves right in the family, beginning with George Washington, the father of this country, so-called.
They intend to keep their structure up by any means necessary. Actually, here, this was the quote right here. My brother Kalonji Django Chenga posted this quote back on the 22nd of January, 1/22/22. So the quote says, "The Negro youth and moderate must be made to understand that if they succumb to revolutionary teachings, they will be dead revolutionaries." This comes from the FBI San Francisco field office, April 3rd, 1968. This memo was sent out the day before the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So I bring that up because they have done an excellent job of cultivating personalities of cowardice and defeat, right? If you look at the COINTELPRO goals, right? Goal number 3 is very clear. That they need to disrupt the transmission of revolutionary ideology, specifically Black nationalism. It can't be transferred down to the youth population. So assassinating Malcolm in such a brutal fashion is meant to send the message that if you pick up these teachings, this is the result, right? So pick up the pimp, pick up the pusher, pick up the hustler, you see the capitalist. So now it's like our generation today. You know, I was listening to this sister who was critiquing me based on the idea that I said that Black women can and should be revolutionaries and warriors. She was critiquing me and saying, no, Black women need to be making pies, you know, like kind of like, you know, need to have like white picket fence, you know, 401k kind of. And I'm listening to this and I'm like, well, I guess I get it. You know, she fits in line with her male peer group, who also kind of like has succumbed and no longer has any kind of like revolutionary fervor. But I want you to speak to Black nationalism, because when we met, one of the first things you said to me, you said, Brother Omowale, I am a Black nationalist. Like that's right. One of the first things you said to me. But I know that you've been in the academy for over 30 years, and the attacks on Black nationalism have been unrelenting with and I don't even know if there are any Black nationalists even on campus at this point. So can you speak to like the attacks on Black nationalism and what needs to be done to revive the spirit of Black nationalism in this generation?
Okay. One of the things that has to be done is a show like yours, and it needs to spread everywhere possible. And Black people who feel like me need to just speak up. In the ideology of Malcolm X, Malcolm would always say, look, tell the white man how you really feel. You know, speak up, people. I know it can be hard sometimes. I've been in situations. One of the universities was really a prestigious college I used to work at. I was the only Black female professor there, the only one. It was horrible. So I would be in meetings surrounded by all white people. And sometimes I would choke. So I know what it means to not want to, you know, just speak up and you know, spoil what's being said, but we must. Another thing too, because, okay, Black nationalism for me means I love Black people. I'm going to do everything I can while I'm on this planet to help my people in any way possible. especially if my people are working towards helping the greater good of Black people. I put race first. Race first, just like Garvey did. Race first. I don't care about integrating. Now, I can make alliances. The Panthers made alliances with white groups, especially when we wanted to get Huey out of jail. Mm-hmm. We made all kinds of pacts to get Huey out of jail. Now, in the academy, there has to be people, Black scholars, who will follow Amos Wilson, who will follow the Black nationalists of the 1960s and 70s, who will write books and not let book publishers dictate what it is you can write, how you can write it. If they do that, then leave the publishing house. Don't be, okay. See, I've lost jobs. You know, right now, I'm not working right now. I'm not working right now because a racist Mexican did not want me in his ethnic studies department. Simple. You know, but does that mean that I'm going to conform? No, I'm not going to. Black people must hear a strong Black voice, and Black people in power, Black people who are chairs of these departments. You really should hire academicians who are also activists. And I'm glad you brought this up. Let me tell you what Black Studies was supposed to do. Mm-hmm. See, because I was there when Black Studies was created. I mean, I wasn't there. I mean, you know, I was in the mix, so to speak. I wasn't an important figure, but I remember all that went into it. The reason that we wanted Black Studies, and by the way, Bobby Seale at Merritt College, Huey Newton at Merritt College, they are the ones that instituted the first Black Studies department at Merritt College in either 67 or 68. No, it couldn't have been. 65 or 66. None of the books on Black Studies list that, but I listed in my book. Now, when Black Studies was formulated, it was formulated because, and it stated, Black academicians are to get with the Black community, make sure that we know what the Black community needs and strategize, because we're supposed to be the smart ones, right? We the teachers, the professors and all that, right? We are to strategize and figure out how working Black people and poor Black people could get their needs met. In other words, Omofwale, Black Studies was supposed to be married to the Black community. Mm-hmm. It was never supposed to be stuck in the ivory tower to just do papers or write books or preach to the students who could come who paid thousands of dollars just to study with one teacher. Okay? I have no problem with the academy making money. I want to make money. You know, this is America. But we were supposed to be married, linked to the overall Black community to solve their problems. That's what Black Studies was supposed to do. Black Studies hasn't done that at all. Black Studies stays right within the ivory tower. Black Studies, many of the professors, they go to conferences, they write papers. For whom? How is it solving the problems of Black people? Why are Panthers still in jail after 40 years? Why hasn't the Black academicians linked to the prisons where many of our Black freedom fighters are languishing? Mm-hmm. Why is it that Assata Shakur is still in Cuba? Mm-hmm. Why can't she come home? White scholars have come home. Excuse me, not scholars. White activists who bomb buildings have come home.
And welcome on campus too.
There they are. Mm-hmm. There they are. So what I see, and I don't know all schools. I don't, and I want to say that. But I have not seen, in my limited experience, a sufficient amount of academicians like it once was on college campuses. Right now, nah. I don't see it. Activism isn't there. The kind of activism that we thought was going to take place within the academy once Black Studies was instituted. And this is a problem that, and I'll just share this. Look, the colleges or the universities, I wanted to teach a course on the Black Panther Party. That has never happened. They would rather have a book-learned person on the party teach about the party. As if, like, if I teach about the party, I can't be objective. I can be objective. The books are out there. But why not have an original Black Panther teach on the Panthers? What is wrong with such a thing? Why is that so outrageous? Okay, that shows you they want a limited kind of understanding for our future Black scholars.
Not just that, they want to shape the understanding. I forget which I think it's Pinel Joseph wrote a book from I think is it from Malcolm X to Barack Obama. I'm like, man, that is like blasphemy. You understand?
Yes.
So it's like this is the type of understanding that they want our current generations to have, and they've done such a great job of marginalizing and demonizing Black nationalism on campus that only activist academics come from an intersectional framework. I mean, and not for nothing, all of that queer theory stuff that they're pushing only furthers the aims and objectives of the state. So it's like controlled opposition, because the so-called radical things that you are pushing for are in alignment with where the capitalist state is going anyway, right? So those things in my mind are not beneficial for Black people. So there's a reason why, you know, these bourgeois academics are put in place and are of no use to our people, are of no use to our struggle. And at this point, they're paid a pretty penny to attack our struggle and attack heterosexual men in particular.
Yes. I know that I forgot what conference this was years ago. But anyway, some women, white and Black, called me a heterosexist. I was like, look, because I believe that Black men and women should be together. Because I believe that the Black family is the foundation for any nation, any community. The Black family with a man, a wife, and children.
Yeah.
So I'm a heterosexist, as if that's a terrible thing to be.
Yeah.
I love Black men, and that's a problem.
Yeah.
I didn't say I hated Black women. I don't want to sleep with them.
Yeah.
I got plenty of girlfriends, right? And that's what they are, my friends. But I love Black men. And I know that in every nation, Black, white, whatever, it is the men that go out and deal in the wars. Now, women can come too, but it is not the woman's job to protect the nation or the home. It's the man's job. Now, that doesn't mean that the woman should just sit back. Look, if somebody's coming at you, you have a baseball bat too, but he's the one that got to go out there first. That makes sense to me. Okay? Now, you want to change all that around? Why? First of all, the Black family has been in trouble since bondage. We've been in trouble since bondage by white people.
Yeah.
The Black family is even in trouble today. We need to go back to some of our traditional values, our sense of healthy morality, and build Black families with strong, intelligent Black children who could further and bring forward the next generation, where we could accomplish many of the things that our great leaders, Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, you know, what they fought and died for. That's what I see. That's how I teach. And I just want to say to all academicians, if you're Black, then you should be a nationalist. I don't care about multiculturalism. I don't care. That doesn't mean that I dislike Indians or Asians or any other. It doesn't mean that. It just means that I'm going to look out for my family first.
Yep.
That's what it means. See, because multiculturalism has been used to dilute the power of blackness.
Absolutely. Did you know I was watching this buck dancing fool today? Michael Eric Dyson came out to give an entire soliloquy in defense of, I guess there are 6 Black women who are being considered as replacements for the Supreme Court position.
Right.
And all of the Black women presently being considered are married to white partners. For
they are?
Yeah, they are.
All of them.
All of them.
Wait, no, let me take that in because you're now giving me new information.
Yeah.
All of them, Omawale.
All of them.
Like all of them.
All of them.
I just want to make sure that the ears are not playing tricks on me.
No, they aren't playing tricks on you. I can bring up well, I can't bring up private.
Well, you don't even have to. Just telling me that is enough. Okay, because I didn't know.
Yeah, but
okay.
So first of all, who cares what blackface? Because the fact that Black people are still talking about Black representation means we're out of our mind, and we still don't understand power. Who cares what blackface is going to carry war?
That's right.
You know, for this system. These people are not for us, but you got all of the cowards, you got all of the coons and dashikis that are running around talking about now it's time for us to get in line and push, you know, get in line and get behind the Democrats so we can get a black.
You must be kidding me.
I'm dead serious. I'm dead.
Brothers and dashikis, I hope you were just exaggerating.
No, I'm not. I'm not exaggerating at all. And to that person who I'm referring to, if they're watching, they know who I'm referring to. They said something. They posted something recently on Twitter where they said, now is not the time to talk about not voting. Now is the time for us to fall in line and push. And my response to that was that, well, you know what happens when a fool gets behind his donkey and pushes. He ends up on his ass, pun intended. You know what I mean? So y'all go ahead and get behind the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Y'all sound crazy. And I just don't think that. I think that the state of urgency that we exist in as a community, we don't have time for this unclear thinking.
We really don't.
We don't have time for this wishful thinking and this, more and more Black representation. Like, nah, later for that. Like
later for that. And even I can't remember it word for word, but point number 10 of the Black Panthers 10-point platform, we wanted a kind of a Black nationalist plebiscite where Black people elect people out of their communities to represent each community. We come together and make decisions about where we need to go, what needs to be fixed, what needs to be solved, all this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Black people, forget these political parties. It is such an insult, and I've written to these Congress people. It is such an insult that John Conyers brought up reparations for Black people, I think in 1970 something. We are now in, say it again, Omwale.
1987.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. We are now in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually have a Black caucus.
Mm-hmm.
What do they do?
Black caucus.
What do they? For that to have not been on the docket since it was first presented, and for other people have gotten reparations of some kind,
mm-hmm.
and we, whose ancestors built this bad boy
mm-hmm.
for free, and we are suffering today like we are?
Yeah.
No, man. So just because a person has Black skin does not mean they have our interests at heart. It does not.
That's a lesson we need to learn. There's a lesson we need to learn.
I must even tell you this. And people have shot me down for this, and I don't care. Trump gave HBCUs more money than they had ever had.
Mm-hmm.
And even said, now you ain't got to come back here begging every year. Now, you might have said that because, look, I don't want to see you folks. I don't care. He gave more money than Obama did.
Yeah.
Now, what are you going to say about such a thing?
Yeah.
He got more people out of jail than Obama did. Yes, he did. So, skin color, that's played out.
Yeah.
We need to look at who has our best, well, maybe not our best, but our interests at heart.
Yeah.
But even more than that, we got to do what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said. We got to do for self.
Shay, hold on one second. I'm speaking. I'm speaking in a conference later this month, the 41st annual Black Consciousness Conference out at Cal State Long Beach campus. And the weekend prior to the conference, I'm organizing a free screening of my documentary with the community. And I have a panel discussion following that called Reimagining Black Power. Because I want to activate a conversation on what does power look like when we delink ourselves from this crumbling political capitalist infrastructure. How do we build power as a people out to let's stop thinking about voting. Let's think about collaborating and cooperating to get our needs met. Like, what does that look like? Because I firmly believe that we have to reorient kind of like the way that we look at power and the way we look at getting things done for ourselves. And right now, we're still trapped in this civil rights model that where we got gains and concessions because the U.S. was locked in the Cold War and needed, to do public relations. And a part of that PR was to give Black people a policy and legislation that they could essentially dilute and make it null and void anyway. So where we are today, I just think that we need to reinvigorate our imagination when it comes to Black liberation, Black sovereignty, Black power. So that's the conversation I'm looking to activate.
I agree. And I just want to remind you, Omawale, and those who are listening to this, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad came from a very poor family. They were so poor that they ate out of garbage cans. Now you tell me how the son of sharecroppers, recently freed from slavery, was able to build a multi-million-dollar Black enterprise during segregation. Now you tell me how he did that. He didn't write for a loan. He didn't go to the Congress people. He didn't get a grant. He relied on Black people to do for self, to get skilled, to join together, bring their monies together. And you all know the rest is history.
Yeah.
The rest is history. I've been reading about Elijah Muhammad, and it was always about, okay. And we did this too in the party, and I didn't realize it. Okay, you rent a hall or a room or whatever, you rent it. Then you rent to own. You stop renting, you rent to own. That was implemented within the brethren of the NOI. And for the Panthers, like when people, I'll use Fred because, his movie was just out, although I had problems with him, with the movie because it was too much about the pig, not enough about my Fred. But nevertheless, Fred Hampton owned that building. You could not be a Panther. Like if you called up the central headquarters and said, well, I want to be a Panther. I want to have a chapter in my city in Chicago. You had to get an office.
Yeah, you had to have a building.
You got to get an office. Okay. So you had to rent to own.
Yeah, that started with the UNIA.
Straight out.
The UNIA actually wrote that in their constitution.
Okay.
If you wanted to have a chapter of the UNIA, you had to have a building. You had to have a physical location where you could organize the community, right?
There it is. So you see, and when you do it that way, you are, let's say somebody just, they really had a lot of enthusiasm and wanted to be a part of the UNIA or the Black Panthers, whatever group. When you are told, no, you got to have a building, then you really have to get serious on another kind of level.
Exactly. Got to ask skin in the game. I mean, even right here in Philly, Thomas W. Harvey Memorial Hall is the only physical asset that the UNIA still owns. But the Honorable Thomas W. Harvey purchased that building so Philadelphia could have a chapter. I mean, Kwame Nkrumah slept in that building right there on 16th and Cecil B. Moore. You understand what I'm saying? So that history is our history. Of course, now we got Temple, you know, trying to buy the building, and you got Negroes that are fighting to sell it. You know, Negroes are going to do what they do. But I'm just saying that history is, I think that we can learn from those lessons and implement those lessons. We don't have a choice if we're serious, and that's the key word. If we're serious,
and
these are the
yes. I think we actually have to go back to go forward.
Yes,
I mean, it's nothing magical or mysterious as to how previous organizations formed and how they lasted and how they succeeded in what it is that they did. You know, first of all, again, we have to concentrate on our successes. We really need to change our psychology. We need to learn how to live without relying on white handouts, white assistance, whatever. We got enough within our own race to do pretty much anything that we want to do. Now, that's the question.
Let me ask you a question. If we were cut off cold turkey today from subsidies and support, right, aid from all right, I think my internet might have went out there for a second.
Yeah.
So I was asking if we were cut off today, cold turkey from the titty of the U.S. government, like no subsidies, no aid, no nothing, like cold turkey. How do you think that we would fare as a collective if they cut us off?
Well, after we picked ourselves up off the ground from screaming and hollering and, you know, like going through cold turkey, like if you're an addict and, you know, then we would have to make the kind of serious decisions that one must make if one wants to survive. And survival is a very human characteristic. It's our basic characteristic, you see? And so we would do like many who come to this country do. All right, 1 million of y'all live in one house. Everybody works somewhere. We put our little monies together. See, because monies put together make a lot of money. And then we could buy a bigger house or separate homes or whatever it is that we want to do. See, we would be thinking much more creatively, you see, if in fact we were pushed out, you know, with nothing to grab onto. And let me, you know, I'm going to even bring this back to when I was a kid on the street. When I knew that, because nobody gave me nothing, I had to think, okay, how am I going to get this? How am I going to get that? How am I going? I really had to think. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, what I thought about was healthy or the right thing, but what I am getting at is this. I had nobody to give me anything. Like children at home, you know, they got their mom. I didn't have that. So I had to think, okay, how can I do this? So I looked at my community. I looked at the terrible places I was going. I looked at, okay, well, I think I could do this here. I could do that there. You know, I could do, in other words, I had to think in a way that would get me what I wanted because there was no one giving me anything, you see? And even today, I still think that same way, you know? I mean, I help people get things done. I help myself. I have, you know, a little side business that I do, you know, writing and editing and this sort of thing. I don't want to just depend on a university to give me a job. I don't want to do that. I can't do that and live. So I've had to be creative in what it is that I do, you know? And, that's even why, like my books, I hope people will run out and buy them. First of all, they're good and they're all about our history. These are my books and I'm very proud of them. And so I think that, look, we've got to put our monies together. I know your audience and Black people, we make so much. We as a group, we got a lot going on for ourselves. Mm-hmm. So if we put our monies together to create institutions, the sky's the limit, as Huey would say. We could do whatever we want to do. Look, in Philly, we got Chinatown, don't we? We got Chinatown. The Chinese is a block. They don't depend on voting. Now, some of them do, but not necessarily so. They got their own enclave of things that help them economically, spiritually, in every other kind of way. That's how we have to think, much more collectively, not multiculturally. We have to think about our people first and what works for us. What is in our best interests? You see? And I'll even say this, that some people might really think I'm crazy. Look here. Maybe because I'm a mother and a grandmother and all that. Look here. Parents should be choosing the dates that their children have. It's not a doggone thing wrong with looking at your circle of people or the circle you want to be in when you have children and make some decisions as those children get older. Well, that's a pretty decent family. Yeah, they got a son. They got a daughter. Okay. And it's nothing wrong. Hey, dating, that's fine. Yeah. With a chaperone.
Yeah. Well, the brothers who I built with, that's our mindset. It's already like because you're making so much of an investment into your child. I'm just not going to throw her out to the wolves or him to the wolves. So my brother, I know, has the same values as me. He and I work together. I understand his character. That's how power is built. Let's merge our families. I have a daughter, you have a son. Let's bring that unit together. So that's our thinking already, because
love it.
The men who I'm moving with, we're already thinking about what it looks like to de-link, right? I don't know if I got frozen there. Can you hear me?
I hear you fine. Yes.
All right, cool. Because sometimes there's a lag. I might be frozen and I'm still talking. But okay. But yeah, we're already thinking like what does it look like to de-link, build communities, build institutions, and those are, so you look at like the African War College. That's an actual institution that we are looking to develop so that we can work and operate collectively. So I'm not going to keep going because we can have this conversation all night, but yes. I do want people to support your work. So please just let the audience know how they can support your work, where they can find more, and anything else that you want them to know. The floor is yours to do so.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. Well, my books are selling on Amazon. Just put in my name, Regina Jennings. Now there's a white Regina Jennings, so that's not going to be me. And she's a fiction writer. So her books may come up first, but Regina Jennings, all of my books, I have an author's page on Amazon. And like I said, my latest book is Poetry in the Black Panther Party, From Ancestral Memory, Morphogenetic Fields to Hip Hop, and Panther Poems, Poetry of a Sister Panther. I think that they're good. Well, of course, I would think that they're good books, but they're for you. I mean, I literally wrote these books for you so that you could have a history of the Black Panther Party from somebody that actually participated in the party. And for any of you scholars, I have collected poetry that was published in the Black Panther newspaper, and I've explored it. I've explicated it. So this book could be used, in colleges. It could be used any place at all. And most importantly, my poetry is mine. It is poetry of a Sister Panther. It is poetry that actually shows the revolutionary thrust and the courage of my brothers and sisters who decided that they had had enough of the racism and the tyranny in this country. And we love Black people so much that we were willing to protect you. We were willing to go to jail for you. Regrettably, some of us were even willing to die for you. And the last thing I do want to say is get involved, learn about the political prisoners movement, because many of our elder prisoners are coming out of jail and they're dying.
Yeah.
Like our beloved Russell Maroon Shoatz here in Philly.
Yeah.
They just let him out of jail and he died 5 days later. So you know what that's about.
Yeah.
And Russell Maroon Shoatz, get his book. I think it's called The Implacable Maroon.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, his name is Russell Maroon Shoatz. He has a book out. It's a great read. I've read it. Another brother, Albert Woodfox, he did 40 years. He just got out of jail. He's doing fine. And he wrote a book called In Solitary. His name is Albert Woodfox. Okay. And last but not least, Jalil Mutakim.
Mm-hmm.
He just got out of jail. He did over 40 years. Brother man is already putting together a petition to take before the United Nations to charge genocide against African American people. Jalil Mutakim. He was a Black Panther and a Black Liberation Army member. And you ought to know these people because these are the people who fought for you and they've written books. So buy their books as well.
I want to give a plug really quick because you just brought up something that I think is very important. And family, I'll make sure I drop this link in the chat as well as Dr. Regina King, her author's page. I'll drop it right into the description box. But the FTP movement has an initiative right now called Liberation Housing. And what they are trying to do with this is raise funds for so many of our warriors, our elders who dedicated their lives to the movement, a lot of political prisoners, right? Mm-hmm. At least they should have the dignity of a home.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
None of our ancestors should be dying homeless or in a nursing home without the dignity and respect that is commensurate of the service that they have given to us as a people. So Liberation Housing is a movement. I'll read it here. It says Liberation Housing serves as transitional and wellness habitations for veteran civil rights activists. These transitional and wellness habitations houses are designed to provide temporary shelter and promote wellness and independence by providing supportive residential and outreach programs with a mission to help the veteran organizers to regain valuable and meaningful roles in the community by supplying them with much needed essentials and dire assistance. So my brother Kalanji Jonga Chenga is one of the folks leading up this initiative. I know that they're going to be rolling out a campaign soon, and I will be supporting it here on the channel. I'm going to do recurring donations, but I encourage you all to do the same. All right. So this has been beautiful. You know, I don't want to wrap it up, but I'll bring you back. I have to bring you to the War College to our speaker's corner so that you can read with us and we can, you know, get into some of your poetry. But
absolutely, I'd love that.
I appreciate your time. I appreciate you being a blessing. I appreciate you feeding me, bringing me to your home. The next time I come, I'll have to bring my kids with you. So
you must. You must.
I was telling my wife about your house. I was like, your entire house is just like a work of art. Like if it almost felt like I was in the Caribbean a little bit, just with all the vibrant colors everywhere. Like it was just a beautiful space. So
yes. Well, it's been a joy knowing you. I'm glad I got a chance to meet you. And it's wonderful that we exchanged people's names that we absolutely know, which was really kind of spooky for a minute. And I love it. Together, we're going to do great things. That's what I feel.
I'm looking forward to it. All right, family. So listen, this has been another episode of Going Off Topic. If you are here for the first time,
yo, check this out. Run my Uncle Mo out his likes.
Make sure y'all hit the like button. Please do subscribe to the channel, and please do support my friends who come through the show. So check out the description box. Go ahead and purchase the books and give, donate all you need to do to feel as though you are a committing citizen, right, to the Omowale Africa YouTube channel. With that being said, I'll talk to y'all soon.
Black Power.
Black Power.
Going off topic.
Off topic.
You really off topic right now. Yo, you way off topic. How is it that everybody's over here and you way over there off topic?